What's up, everyone, and welcome to the RRBG podcast. Today, I'm being joined by WWE Superstar Shayna Baszler. How are you?
I'm doing well. I had a workout a little bit ago, got some food in me quick, so it's been a go, go,
Nice.
go day. We're doing this now.
Awesome. I appreciate your time. I know it's crazy time. It's Mania season. It's Mania week, actually. We're only a few days away. So
Yeah.
any time I can get with you is great. But I did want to get you on to talk a little bit about Bloodsport and music and other things that you are interested in, like Warhammer. We'll get to it eventually, but uh,
Nice. I'm excited. I love these ones.
yeah, yeah. I'm trying not to do like the typical standard, wrestling news type interviews. Like I want to get to know you. But I do want to talk a little bit about Bloodsport because I mean I'm a friend of Josh Barnett's, and this is something I've been asking him to push for years since the beginning. And this is the 10th one, and you're finally stepping foot in the Bloodsport arena. So how are you feeling about that, and how did this all come about?
It's pretty cool. If I'm being honest, I thought that by the time I had the availability to do this, that there would be too many miles on my body and I'd be done doing this. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool that it worked out this way. Um, and as far as on my end of the discussion, all the talking was already done.
Mm.
I got pulled into the office, at work, and, it was actually William Regal. He was like, "Hey, what do you think about working Bloodsport?" And I was like, I mean, yeah, is everything cool? Am I cool? Like, what are you
Yeah.
trying to say to me? And he was like, yeah, yeah, we've just been talking to Josh, and there's only so many athletes that we have that we feel confident can wrestle that style, and you're one of them. So, are you interested? I was like, absolutely, yes, 100%. So, yeah, as far as my end, the talking was already done. It was just, do you want to do this? So completely surprised, complete blindside. In saying that, I was literally at work for like a Monday Night Raw, so I didn't have my phone. It was in the locker room. I was like out in the ring, moving around, and got called to the office. That discussion happened. Go out, finish working out in the ring, get back to the locker room to start getting dressed and ready for the day. And on my phone, I had like missed call from Josh, a text like, text me back. It's urgent. You know what I mean? So I knew by the time I got back what it was, but he had tried to reach me, I think probably before them. But yeah, it was a surprise, but a thoroughly enjoyable one.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I know you're a student of Barnett's. How long has it been since you've had a chance to, sit under the learning tree of the old War Master?
I mean, we talk a lot, you know what I mean? He's still very involved with my career, not just my wrestling career, but outside of that. He's a mentor of mine. I go to him for a lot of advice on other things and stuff. I've always said he's not, I wouldn't be like not necessarily a father, more like an uncle. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Like
okay.
a little bit cooler than, like, you could be a little looser around him than your parents, but also someone you look up to. So, um, it's it. I talk to him a lot as far as like um what I fully expect when I arrive tomorrow. Getting that hard ass coach, Josh. It's been,
Mm,
a couple of years. He does watch my matches and he'll give me critiques and advice and that sort of thing. And anyone that's worked with Josh, he's a hard ass. He is. He
hmm.
doesn't give his compliments freely. You earn the compliments if he gives them to you. He's critical. He's very, especially, I people will think this is crazy, but more so about wrestling than even MMA. He's very protective of what it means to represent him. And so, I fully expect tomorrow he's going to be hard on me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen that particular Josh. I've been helping. I'll show up to the before the shows and watch him like running, everybody through the gamut, and it's it's a scary sight. The man's a big man, and
Yeah.
having him
Yeah,
tell
for
you,
sure.
no, harder, go, go. Like, actually, I did want to selflessly promote here, but I understand that you got a chance to
Black blood
try
of the
one of
earth.
these.
Yeah.
This is this is him and I. This is our project right here.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. What did you think? Did you try it?
I loved it. Yeah, I tried it live on my Twitch stream.
Oh,
And
really?
I was
I need
like,
to
this
go
is
see
great,
that.
you guys. Yeah, I know. It was a while back, obviously, like when it first came out, he sent me some, but yeah, I think it's delicious. Like
Awesome.
I'm into smoke. I have a Yoder smoker, so I'm into like reverse searing and smoking meat.
Nice.
And I think it goes so good with that flavor. So
oh yeah, the bourbony, smoky flavor of the barrels, really, because we aged it in his bourbon War Master barrels for a while. But
yeah, and the bourbon is legitimately hickory smoked. It's not like added flavor like some. It's legitimately smoked, so that flavor carries over to the beer. It's good.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for trying it on your stream. I hadn't seen that. I'm gonna yell at him for not sending me that, but I'll go look for it. So okay, a little bit more about Bloodsport. How familiar are you with your opponent there, Masha Slamovich?
Yeah, I'd be a fool if I didn't say that I wasn't researching some stuff on her. I've never met her. I know she's got quite a few accolades herself. She's a GCW like champion. She's had some success in some other indie stuff. She's been all over the world. So a very friend and teammate of mine, Marina Shafir, has wrestled her a couple times. So I've seen her stuff. I'm as familiar as I'm gonna get with her until we're face to face.
Okay, that's good. I know that it's a weird new time for pro wrestling where this is happening, because this is something that just 1 year ago we would have never been having this conversation about. A WWE superstar crossing over to perform in another arena. But how do you feel about that? And are there any other potential opponents that you would, if you were to do it again next year, who's somebody out there that you think would fit the bill to go up against you?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's such a good time right now because, I've had a couple other interviews where they want to point at like, Triple H taking over or whatever the reason might be, but I think it's this perfect storm of events that have happened at the same time. The TKO merger, obviously Triple H taking over has a lot to do with it. And I think like I don't say this often because I don't want it to sound like I'm like tooting my own horn, but it's not a style that just anyone that pro wrestlers could do. It's also not a style that just any fighter could do. So I think it takes a special like hybrid of pro wrestler fighter. And I'm just so fortunate that I was brought up in the martial lineage that Josh Barnett brought me up in, because he'll tell you out of his own mouth, when I started crossing over from MMA to pro wrestling, my training on his fight team changed very little. Sure, maybe I didn't do hard sparring day, but I still did full speed submission wrestling day. I still did full speed kickboxing day. Maybe my sparring, it was, you wouldn't have, if you had come in off the streets to be like, let's check out this fight team, it's not like you would have been like, oh man, she's training differently. I was just on the fight team. He was giving me different philosophy and psychology, but as far as like the actual training, it was very similar. And I think that like specifically the style of catch wrestling that Josh Barnett brought me up in, it's not going to be like a jiu-jitsu. It's very different. And people that are MMA fans that maybe don't know pro wrestling would see like, Josh Barnett's grappling style, that catch wrestling grappling style, totally different than jiu-jitsu. Now, is jujitsu the more known and popular art as far as MMA? For sure. And I mean, I have a jujitsu black belt. I'm not trying to say one or the other, but there is a specific catch wrestling way of wrestling that just translates better to professional wrestling because catch wrestling is professional wrestling. When you get down to it. But I'm just lucky that all these little details have like taken place and happened at this time to allow me to be able to do this with Josh, mentor of mine. And then on top of that, there's like a certain responsibility that I feel because coming up in this sort of style of UWFI pro wrestling, and trying to carry that banner even still within the WWE. I try to keep true to my style. Um, it's such a cool thing that now I have this platform that was built in the WWE that perhaps is now going to cross over the other direction and go, oh, what's this other thing? And like, oh, and maybe they'll understand me a little bit more even. So it's pretty cool. It's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I was going to say that. Like, I don't want to add any additional pressure that you already are probably feeling, but you know, this is the biggest Bloodsport. It's the 10th one, but it's the biggest one because, and mostly because it's you. You're on it. This is going to
Sold
bring
out.
it's going to bring a ton of new eyes. You know, WWE fans that are maybe not familiar with it or maybe had heard about it but never seen it, or maybe they were just afraid of it or didn't know where to, you know, what it is. There's going to be a lot more eyes on the product now than ever before, mainly because of you. And it's like I said, I don't want to add pressure, but it's like you kind of have to
I have to
excel.
deliver.
You have to deliver. Yeah, it has to be there. And
Yeah.
honestly, I have zero doubt. Like this, to me, Bloodsport was built for you specifically. Like you are the queen, I would say, of Bloodsport, and you haven't even been in one yet. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, I have a couple members from the WWE social team that's going to be following me around the whole day tomorrow. So
Nice.
there's going to be even eyes as far as like behind the scenes of what I imagine, you know, I don't get too busy into how people warm up and how they prepare, but I imagine the way I do is different than what you're going to see a lot of times. So just all around, even if people aren't, their algorithm doesn't show them this stuff and they missed it. I think it's gonna scroll up on their thing and they're gonna see a clip here and a clip there, and it's gonna definitely draw some eyes regardless. So it is a big responsibility. And you know, I sat up late last night talking to Josh about it. Like he wasn't putting any pressure, just letting him know, like, I realize I have to deliver. This is it's it's more than just I mean, obviously I would love to deliver selfishly for my career and what I'm leaving behind, but it's bigger than that, you know. It's the legacy of my martial lineage, and it's being able to platform this style of wrestling that I is a dying art, this style, right? Especially in America. So uh yeah, I'm it's such an honor, really.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. I'm bummed out that I'm not in Philly. I was gonna go, and then my Josh graciously blessed me with a trip to Japan for Bloodsport Bushido in June.
Ah, that's gonna be cool.
So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna save my money for that trip because I've never been to
Yeah,
Japan. So I want to go all out. I want to have fun, watch the event, help. I'm gonna be helping as well, but just you know,
cool.
Philly's cool, but I think Japan takes
Tokyo,
priority.
maybe. Yeah.
Two more questions about this, and then we can move on to something else. You mentioned you have your black belt. How does training change for you once you hit, you know, black belt? Because in other professions or industries, once you hit a certain level, it's almost like the work rate goes down because you've hit, like a chef, for example. You're a sous chef for 12 years, and then once you're a head chef, you're not really grinding it out and burning your hands anymore. Now you're just yelling at all your sous chefs. So, how much did training change for you once you achieved your black belt, or did it get harder?
So I think like for me, it's the training changing had nothing to do with the belt level I was at. Um, it's more that I've changed trajectory of the career that I'm doing. So
Mm,
I'm not going to jiu-jitsu tournaments all the time. I'm not doing MMA competitively. So um, I'm I'm wrestling 4 or 5 nights a week. I
yeah.
can't afford to, as much as I would love to. Don't get me wrong. You can't get that competitive itch out of a competitor ever, but I just can't risk something happening. I put food on my table by wrestling, not
Yeah.
by uh, competing anymore. So at least competing along those lines. So the training has changed as far as like I don't need to go to 2 a days and crawl out of the gym.
Mm,
Um, I still train um, just because I need to. I This is my style of pro wrestling. Even if you watch me in WWE, I need to keep this style still fresh in my mind. So on top of that, one thing Josh has always ingrained in us is that we need to pass this on. So I do help teach. Um, but I did that even before I got my black belt or whatever. But I am obviously, especially at the jiu-jitsu school right now, Rudos BJJ, in Orlando, when I pop in there, I am more of like a teacher role. But I do get on the mats and roll with especially some of the higher guys that I know are going to be safe with me. So yeah.
nice, nice. Okay, and then well, finally, that I mean, it kind of in the same question, but with this TKO merger that happened, is has there been a thought in your mind to maybe MMA and UFC, just
Uh,
dabble a
you
dabble?
know, the MMA is a short-lived. That's a Matt Hughes always used to say MMA is a young man's sport. I toured with him in the Middle East, we would go to the military bases and grapple with the soldiers. And he would get asked that all the time in the Q&As, and he's like, it's a young man's sport. Do I think mentally I could keep up? Sure. I don't know if I this is cliche, but I don't know if I like have the hunger in me
Mm,
that like a young up and coming hungry fighter, it just wouldn't be worth it. Now, in saying that, the TKO merger happens, and do I think I can provide a different sort of commentary or something like that? For sure. I think that is something. Or be on a guest panel analysis, something along those lines. I think for sure, being from both arms of this, I could talk about whether you watch both of them or not. And I'm talking WWE and UFC. Both of them are sport and both of them are entertainment. So I think I'm in a special spot where I could touch on both for both sides. So um, more than anybody else on either roster, really. So that is something that has crossed my mind. There is a side of me that misses cracking people in the skull, but I think that's just a thing I'm
mm.
gonna have to live with.
I feel that. I feel that with music. I'm no longer in a band, but um, I did it for such a long time, and it's also the same vibe of like, I was younger, I was running around, jumping off stage. I'm in my 40s now. I don't know if I can do all that. I don't
Yeah,
know. If like you said, it's a young man's game. But um,
yeah.
so speaking of, well, actually, do you? So do you don't have a match? Do you have a match this weekend aside from Bloodsport?
Just Bloodsport this week for
Just
me.
Bloodsport. Okay. I was gonna say that's
Yep.
gonna be rough to do Bloodsport and then go and have another match. It's gonna be hurting sore.
I still would have done it. Well, I
Yeah,
still
of
would have done
course.
it. I think the people in charge know that too. But yeah, it didn't work out for me and my tag partner Zoe this time. So we're doing this.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mentioned music, so and I know that you're into music a lot,
Mhm.
um, mostly metal, and I blame the War Master for his influence on that as well.
Yeah,
But what do you have currently on rotation musically?
man, I've really been on the new Judas Priest album.
Ooh, okay.
It's that's been really, I don't know, it reignited. Like I'm now in like a Judas Priest kick. So the new album, really loved it. Listened to it while I was working out, and then it's like you put the Judas Priest radio on,
Mm.
on Spotify or whatever, and now I'm like, oh yeah, this. Oh man, I remember that. Oh, Screaming for Vengeance is one of the greatest songs of all time. Why don't I listen to this more? So that's really the thing I've been listening to the most recently. Um, what else? There's some Josh sends me stuff all the time. You're right. He sends me uh I've been so when I work out, when I'm doing like heavy weight, that's like Judas Priest, or if I need to get harder, like a bolt thrower, like that arm.
Hmm.
Um, if I'm doing more cardio based stuff, I need stuff that's like a little groovier.
Hmm.
So like Queens of the Stone Age, I'll even go really other side of the spectrum and I go like Street Sweepers Social Club type jives, like
Okay.
just bopping a little bit so you can move around and like
Get the
get a little
rhythm. Yeah.
rhythm going. Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of been what's spinning for me
Okay.
recently, but that's an ever-changing thing, as you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know a lot of people, friends of mine that I grew up with that listened to metal in high school or something that have evolved into not listening to metal at all. Now they're like, oh, I just like
Hmm.
smooth jazz or, classic rock. Whereas me, I want heavier. I'm digging, I'm looking for more screaming, more heavy riffs. Like, let's dig over there in Norway, see what they're bubbling up over there, or Poland. You know what I mean? I want some death metal
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
life.
yeah.
Are you feeling that way? Do you feel yourself like your musical taste maybe getting a little nuts? I don't want to say softer, but just not as aggressive.
Um, I still crave that
Okay.
like metal side like you, but I think I have more times in my life where I'm um like a good example for me is that's a pretty consistent mellow time is like we'll a lot of times like we have TV on Mondays. Um I'll get back to the hotel at like midnight. By the time I shower, eat, chill out, I have to catch a 6 a.m. flight. I've gotten no sleep.
Mm.
Catch a flight. I'm in Orlando and driving back home from the airport. I'll want to listen to stuff that's like a little more like I'm done with the week. I'm going home, along those lines. Those moments happen for me more. But I still have, I wouldn't say that like, I feel like what you're talking about is like the focus is moving. I think my circle of enjoyment has just gotten bigger.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I've been, as I get older, I'm more open to things that I used to kind of be a gatekeeper or elitist about, like,
Right,
oh,
right, right.
who listens to that? But like now that I'm older, I'm like, it's actually not bad. And maybe it's not
Yeah.
like my favorite thing in the world, but I was being a little harsh, with my
Right, right.
judgments. Do you have playlists that are specific for certain things? Like, I had Carrie and Cross on, and we were talking about how when I'm feeling down, I put on my feel good playlist, and it has like the Thong Song from Cisco and Return of the Mac, stuff that are not metal at all, but just funny or uplifting things to cheer me up. Do you have playlists that are specific for certain things?
So it's funny that you asked this. I had just read an article uh this psychologist had written about how they've discovered that there is a connection made in your brain with music you listen to as a teenager. That is the only time that that connection is made in your life. You connect to music a certain way. I'm doing a bad job explaining it. I'm not a scientist or anything, but there's like a certain way that it wires into your brain during those formative years that never happens again. And so they were talking about they're doing these studies where uh, people that are depressed or whatever, they tell them to listen to songs that they listened to when they were in high school. So I have found because of reading that, I'm like, okay, so when I'm feeling in a bummer mood or something, or I need a little pick me up, I'm like, all right, put on 90s stuff. And it's like you know, the first Green Day album, like
Mm.
weird stuff that I wouldn't probably listen to, but you know every word to. And then it brings back these memories of like we used to do this thing in Sioux Falls that I think every town has called Cruising the Loop, where downtown there's like a one-way street this way and a one-way street this way, and we would just all drive around for no reason, just being
NASCAR
hooligans.
style.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, we thought so, I think. But we just listening to music and it brings back all these memories. So it's funny that you asked that because that's kind of been my thing is like when I need to pick me up, I put on like a 90s playlist. You just type
Okay.
in like 90 best of the 90s or something and some good stuff comes up. I have like my playlists are all heavy lifting and that's the stuff we were talking about, or like
Yeah.
uh, uh grooving, that's my cardio thing. And if I'm kind of like I don't know what mood I'm in, there's like Spotify will make you a playlist of like discover playlist, like stuff that you might like based on stuff you've been listening to. So I'll listen
Hmm.
to that and be like, oh, this song's pretty cool, and then I'll add it to whatever list I think fits in the time. And I have a playlist for when I'm flying.
Okay.
Um, and then, I have a couple of playlists. So I have a playlist of like if I plan on sleeping this whole flight, and I have a playlist if I'm like awake and I'm just wanting to like listen to some good music. So yeah, I have a playlist for every mood.
So is
And
sleepy
then
is sleepy like actual songs, or are you listening to ambient noise and rain, or something like that?
no, 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 yeah, it's actual music, but it's
Okay.
not gonna be there's not gonna be a lot of the metal in there.
Mm.
It's funny. I was just talking to someone. I can't remember who I was talking to. Uh, randomly, I don't know why. There's an Atreyu song in the playlist that I play when I want to sleep on the plane. And it wakes me up every time because it's just like it's Atreyu, right? It's not a
Yeah.
sleepy song. I don't know. It must have ended up there on accident, but I never move it. But I'll be on the
Mm.
plane and all of a sudden it'll be like, and I'm like, oh, I'm awake. And I just skip. If I listen to it, I listen to it, or I'll just go to the next. But I never move it out of that. I don't even know why it's in that playlist. It's funny, but
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
it's
Well,
music.
you're playing a risky game with the '90s playlist, because I mean, '90s could be, like you said, Green Day, or it could be Ace of Base and
Yeah,
the
that's true.
the
That's
real
true.
McCoy.
And you're very right. It does end up being uh other stuff sometimes that maybe I would listen to, but yeah, you're
All
right.
right. A little life hack: if you're ever sleepy but on the road and needing a pick me up to wake you up to continue driving, my solution has always been the Dillinger Escape Plan. Specific,
Oh, that's another one I haven't listened to in a while.
Specifically, Calculating Infinity, which is like their first big album. I don't need coffee with that album. I don't. Like, it just gets me in
That's
that, like,
good.
woo, like it's for anybody that hasn't heard Dillinger that's watching the show. I mean, I doubt it. I've had all the members on the show, so I think most of my fans are fans. But if you haven't, it's chaos. It's chaos jazz. That's what I would refer it to.
I'll have to. I haven't listened to Dillinger in a long while, so I'll have to dig it back up.
Yeah, I mean, they broke up, so a lot of people just forget that they exist. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of my top bands that
Hmm.
I pray for a reunion at some point so I can go. That's the only time that band and Every Time I Die are the only bands that I would still mosh for in my 40s. If they were to
Nice.
reunite, I would go into that pit and fight everyone in the pit, because that was my thing back in my early 20s and even in my 30s. But like now, as I'm getting older, I'm like, maybe I don't need to get knocked out in a mosh pit.
Yeah, I feel the
Yeah.
same way. Again, my thing is all like, I can't get hurt. I
Yeah.
can't get hurt doing this. I gotta go to work.
Yep. Do you have if I were to ask you for a Mount Rushmore of your bands, what would you say? Your four
So
top bands.
people are gonna roll their eyes at this, but the first one I have to say is Kiss because my dad when I was in 6th grade, introduced me to Kiss. And now that I'm older and I understand lyrics, that's kind of messed up. But I thought they were so cool with their face paint, and they looked like demons. And he took me to see Kiss live in my hometown, and it changed everything. It was like, okay, I want to be a rock star. I played the cello at the time, so I thought I wanted to play the bass guitar. So I was like, I want to be Gene Simmons. I'm gonna be on stage and I'm gonna be a rock star. These guys are so cool. And I actually got to see Kiss, on their like 5-year long end of the world tour.
Oh, right. Yeah, we're retiring for the 5th time this
Yeah.
decade.
But I still think that they're a great band to see live. But I have to put them just because formative wise, it changed music for me.
Okay.
So them, I'd say Machine Head.
Nice.
The Blackening is like the first like metal album that I really memorized all of. And actually, Clenching the Fist of Dissent was all up until even the end on my. This is the last round of sparring. I need some music. That was one of the songs on that playlist. I'd say Bolt Thrower because not many people knew who they were. And Josh obviously introduced me to them. And then as years went on, I got the opportunity. They gave me and Josh the rights for me to walk out to their music when I was fighting on television. So that was cool. Plus it's Bolt Thrower. Like,
yeah,
it's awesome. And then the 4th one, probably I'm gonna say, oh man, it's so hard. Slayer.
okay.
You can't argue with Slayer.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Even though they pulled a fast one on everyone. Hey, we're retiring, and then like 2 weeks later, no, we're back.
It's true, but Raining Blood is another one that's on that that sparring list. And just every song they do just thrashes so hard. So
yeah.
No,
they're
classic.
They're you can't what is it see how I could say this without cursing. Unf-withable.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
Unf-withable. I know this is kind of a dumb question, but I have it anyway. How important, and I assume the answer is very, but how important is entrance themes for you with pro wrestling?
Well, the entrance is round 1. That's what Josh would always say to us about fighting. I think in pro wrestling, it's something interesting because it's kind of iconic to have that music that the first note hits and the crowd knows
you're coming.
Like who's coming out.
Yeah.
That's cool. For the longest time, I came out when I was on the indies, there's a band called Excruciation, and they did a cover of God of Thunder by Kiss. So it was like a heavier version of God of Thunder. And I came out to that. And so my current WWE song is inspired by that. If you listen to it, you can kind of hear the similar track. So I think it does a lot to set the tone of who you are, especially in a pro wrestling sense. We talk about characters and introducing yourself to the audience every time you walk out. And it's like the first thing they are introduced to is the music, which is the mood that you set. So I think that's just the entrance is round 1, right?
Yeah. I mean, I like your new song, but I was more of a fan of the old NXT one.
A lot of people say that. Yeah. That it's funny because like some of the boys in the locker room had made up lyrics to my old song.
Okay.
And so they still when we're joking around in the back, they still sing that as my entrance song.
Nah.
If I'm being honest, I think even my current entrance song isn't the one yet.
Hmm.
But we'll see.
Are
Maybe
you
it'll
more
grow into that. I don't know.
are you more of the mindset of you should have your own song that is created for you, like a Jim Johnson type of thing, or are you okay with picking like one of your favorite songs, like say that from the Kiss song, like would because some people say you should have your own theme, but I'm also cool with if you pick one classic song that everybody recognizes, you could still make it yours.
I think I'm either way about it, right? Rhonda came out to
Yeah, right.
uh and it's so fitting for her.
Yeah,
Like it, she comes out and it's screaming, "I don't give a damn about my reputation." You're like, "Oh, that's very much Rhonda
yeah,
and her attitude," right? And so I think that there's a lot of people especially in the combat sport world, whether MMA, she came out to it in MMA as well. That's very much associated with her. But then you have songs like Cody Rhodes, who now everybody knows all the lyrics to that song, and it's iconic, and it was made just for him. So I think either way, it just needs to hit right,
it needs to be the right thing.
And I
Yeah.
think like in saying that, I love both the entrance musics that I've had, but I don't think either of them have hit quite right yet. So
Okay.
we'll see.
We'll see.
Maybe they will. Maybe it'll just take time, but we'll see.
Okay. Okay. Now to kind of transition to a different topic here, but transition properly. One genre of music that I feel is underrated and underappreciated by a lot of people is video game music. I know
Mm.
I know you play video games. So how do you consider video game music music? Because a lot of people don't. They think it's just that's just video game music. They don't respect it. But like I'll pay money to see certain video game concerts. You know.
Yeah, for sure. And video games are a form of storytelling. So the music sets the mood. Music can make or break a movie scene. Music can make or break a boss fight
Mm-hmm.
a video game. Music can make or break a CG storytelling part of a video game. Like I remember almost being in tears during the original Final Fantasy VII
Mm.
and that whole story. Like people that think it's not. And there's been such a evolution of video game music, right? It's not the beat boop stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's what's a recent game? Like Cyberpunk
Yeah.
2077 is I had that playing during my workouts for a little while when I was playing that. There's another game on the Oculus called Pistol Whip, and it's a rhythm game, but it's like you're on a track, so you just stay still, but it moves you
Kind of like
through
Beat
like a
Saber.
town, kind of like Beat Saber, but it's you're
Shooting.
shooting at enemies, and if you can hit them on the beat, and you got to be dodging bullets and stuff. It's that soundtrack is really cool. Now, obviously, those are like actual songs, but that's what you're getting more of with video game music today. So you get these epic storytelling games. They're remaking the Final Fantasy sevens with the themes that you recognize, but now it's being played by an orchestra. You know what I mean? It's that music is such a mood setter. I think it's been like the thing I've been saying throughout this whole interview is it's like it sets the tone. Do I want to throw heavy weight around? Do I want to groove a little bit? Do I want to cry because there's a story being told to me? Do I feel like crying but I don't want to, so now I need to pick me up? You know what I mean? Yeah, I need to feel epic fighting this boss. It's the last round of sparring and I'm tired. It just sets the mood. Music is so important. I think we should all have an earpiece and be listening to music for everything in our life. We play a game on road trips in the car, the people I ride with in the car, where we'll all have our phones and we take turns plugging into the car and we say something like, okay, what's the song you would play during the end credits of the movie of your life? And so you have to go through and find a
Mm.
song, and then you listen to that song. And then everyone in the car goes around and it's like, okay, the zombie horde is coming, and you're gonna stay back and fight them off while everyone escapes. What's the song that's playing during the slow motion? Like just ridiculous stuff like that we can think of, and it's fun. It sets the mood.
Yeah,
So
that's a fun game. I've never played something like
yeah,
that. That's
you
interesting.
should do it. It's fun. Yeah, you
um,
get to learn a lot about a person.
yeah, that is true. That is one thing I always judge people on is what are you listening to? And it doesn't matter like if it's not something that I enjoy, just as long as I can respect what it is, like if it's
Hmm.
like garbage, like undeniable garbage, then I'm going to judge you harshly.
Right,
You
right,
know what
right.
I
Yeah,
mean? But
yeah.
like if you're listening to Nickelback or whatever, just because I don't like it, I know that they are tremendously successful and talented band. Like I'm not going to judge you for that. That's just your thing.
Right.
Um, Speaking of Final Fantasy, are you playing Rebirth at
I
all?
haven't started Rebirth yet. I'm so behind on my backlog.
Mm.
Um, I'm still on Helldivers all the
Okay.
time. Speaking of which, I say every time we play the group of friends, I have like two different groups of friends I play with. I always am like, holy smokes, the music is so epic in this game.
Yeah.
Like the main theme as you're dropping in, that's just such an epic theme. And then when you're specifically when you're fighting the automatons, that music is so epic. Yeah, I love the music in that game. But yeah, I'm stuck on Helldivers, so my backlog's getting
Getting longer and
backed
longer.
up.
It's
Yeah,
a
yeah, it's
and
bad.
more games keep coming out. Like me,
I know.
I play a lot. Like my wife works at Activision slash Microsoft, and we get all the games. So I get I love playing games, but even with the amount of time I give it, it's never enough. There's always
Never enough.
a stack of games waiting for me.
I have the mistake of like I travel a lot, so I have a Steam Deck.
Mm.
Um, so I'm on Humble Bundle and I'm like, well, I mean, this is a
It's
good deal.
five
So I
dollars.
like, yeah, like I have too many games that I would have never even thought about buying that are in my library. On top of like I still haven't beat Rogue Trader.
Mm.
Like I still
Yeah.
have that game sitting right now on my Steam Deck. I brought my little Bluetooth keyboard because I play with keyboard and mouse on that one, and
Nice.
I still haven't beat that. So
Well,
I'm
that's a
behind.
long game too. That's the other thing. Games are
Yeah, I
getting
know.
longer. They're like 300
Yeah,
hours. Like, get out of here. I don't have time for that. That's
yeah.
wild. Okay, well, let's transition to Warhammer. I'm familiar with Rogue Trader and Martyr and a couple of other like Space Marine. I'm playing Bolt Gun right now, which is what they've a
Oh,
whole
that's
new.
awesome.
Yeah, they created a genre for it, the boomer shooters.
Yeah.
I find it slightly offensive because it fits me. So I'm like, this is what I want to play. I guess I'm a boomer. I don't know. I don't know. But I do find that Warhammer is a little overwhelming with the amount of stuff they have. There's so many games and so many books and the tabletop games. Um, what would you recommend as a good beginner's crash course? Like, what are a couple things that I should start with to kind of get really into the lore? Because I get option paralysis. I see all these things. I'm like, where do I start?
Yeah. It's intimidating for a lot of people. I think so me personally, I'm more into 30K and the Horus Heresy than I am into like modern 40K.
Okay.
Um so for people that don't understand, 40K is set in the year 40,000 and 30K is the 10,000 years that led up to what's here and now, which is 40K. So, um, the two things I would say where you start is like find the thing you like, right? So if you're a video game person, you could start with Space Marine, probably is what I would say. It's the most easily digestible. Rogue Trader, I've said Rogue Trader's long, but the story is so good and it does such a good job of introducing you into the universe. If you're into those kind of turn-based sort of games. Um, if you're into tabletop, get into that. If you're into just painting miniatures, you don't even need to play the game to paint the miniatures. If you're into reading books, I always say to start with the first like 5 or so books of the Horus Heresy and then go from there. So then you're going to be like,
what's going on? It looks like your New Year's Eve.
How did that happen?
You had fireworks. I think you said a word. Zoom does a thing now with certain words. I don't know.
Oh, weird.
Okay.
Is it like when you do thumbs up and it makes the thumbs up bubble go?
I think so. I don't know what you said.
Weird.
It set off fireworks, but okay. So you were saying the books, what was it? The Horus
Heresy,
Horus Heresy
is a series of books about an event called the Horus Heresy. It's how modern 40K happened. But that stuff is so lore rich. And then I think what happens to everyone is they find like their specific thing they're into. Like, oh, this Imperial Guard story is cool. And now you can go find Imperial Guard books because Warhammer 40K is like D&D. There's a bajillion books. You can't read them all. It's impossible. Yeah. So you have to kind of find the arms that you're into. So I always say start with the Horus Heresy because for me that was the beginning. Josh bought me an Ultramarines book, and then I started reading the Horus Heresies, and then I was like, this Ultramarines book was cool, but I hate the Ultramarines. I love these guys. You know what I mean? So I started like really getting into the Horus Heresy, and then obviously with Josh being the War Master, I'm Baszler the Despoiler, you know. Yeah. So it's so intimidating. It really is. It can seem overwhelming, but if you just start the Horus Heresy, find the branch that you like, and then if you really get into it, I suggest everyone to read The Siege of Terra. They just finished the last book of that. So there's a famous, like, if you look at Warhammer at all, there's this famous artwork of the Emperor and Sanguinius is dead and Horus is there and they're fighting. It's this famous scene, but that's Siege of Terra is about that particular moment. So yeah, you just need to close your eyes, dive in, and then be like, don't like that, I like this, I'm gonna do more reading on that.
Okay. Yeah, modern entertainment is like, say, Star Wars or Dune or any of that stuff. We're not used to it being so vast. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to get into Star Wars, you can sit there and watch every
There's a
Star
starting
Wars
point.
movie. Yeah. And you can watch all of it and it'll be like, all right, I finished the Star Wars. But with Warhammer, like, we want to go into it with that approach of like, I want to see it all, but you can't. There's just so much.
No, yeah.
So I guess the best approach, like you said, just get in where you fit in. Find what you like most of it. Okay, I like that approach. So when did you start like wanting to design your gear after some of the characters? Because I see that you post about it. You do like the side by sides every so often. So when did that start coming about for you?
The color scheming stuff was really just like talking to Creed, Xavier Woods. He was like, man, that's part of the thing that gets me creatively fulfilled is thinking of these cool gears and how can I, because it's such a fine line, right? I can't just outright be like a Space Marine. I have to still be Shayna. Right. Yeah. So I have to find a way to sort of sprinkle the stuff out there so that the people that know are like, I see what she's doing. You know what I mean? And then the people that don't know are like, oh, she's wearing green gear. That's weird, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's a color she's never worn. So it's not so overtly, like, I don't want to be cosplaying necessarily. You know what I mean? I want it more of an homage.
Gotcha.
And now that I've done it, I'm kind of on this thing where I am. So I have this project that I'm too scared to start because anyone that paints miniatures, the Forge World miniatures for the Primarchs are $150 a character. And they're
Oof.
tiny, right? They're miniatures.
Yeah.
And so I have this lofty goal of like, I want to do the first founding chapters, the first 2018 chapters, and do like a shadow box where the miniature of that chapter's Primarch that I've painted, and then a piece of my gear, and then maybe like a picture of me in the ring with that gear.
Hmm.
But I am not good enough to justify painting a model that costs $150. So
Yeah.
I gotta keep practicing before I feel like I can do that. I could get someone to do it, I guess, but that's not the same.
Hey, that's a
But
biz. That's a you know, my brain sometimes I can't shut off the business mind, but I think that's a business
yeah,
opportunity. You could sell those. You put that
yeah,
together, a piece of your
yeah,
gear, a little mini figure, and like an autographed picture, and people will pay a lot of money for that. It could fund
that's
your.
true. That's
It
true.
could fund your project.
Yeah, maybe then I can afford to get these miniature Primarch figures for sure.
Yeah, you buy a couple to start, and then you put them out there. You sell them, and you triple your profits, and then now you can buy the ones you want for yourself.
Right, right, right.
Oh man. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, I wanted to get a read on how you are in terms of mental health. It's something that's been important for me and something that is being spoken about more and more these days, which is great because a lot of people, they didn't want to come off as like, especially guys, they don't like talking about it. That, you're soft or whatever because you have feelings. but just I
Right.
wanted to get how are you in terms of dealing with your mental health? Like, do you get anxiety before an event? Do you get like dark days, or all of this work and training that you do keeping you uplifted and not really falling into any of these holes?
Man, it's crazy that you say this because I've just recently on my stream, it's become like almost a like a group therapy session because over the holidays I kind of had life, and I never like to get into specifics solely because I mean, obviously, you don't want to put so much of your life out there, but I think it's I think it reaches more people to be like less specific because people can relate to it, make it relate to whatever it is they're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah, over the holidays I had some life stuff and I got into a real bummer for a while, and it just happened on stream one day. Like I just got hit by a truck out of nowhere.
Mm.
Not literally, but just
Right.
an
Yeah.
emotional truck. And that's kind of how it happens. I think everything will be fine and then something or maybe nothing, maybe for no reason, it's just a bummer. And I didn't plan on that happening. And so I just had to open up and be like, guys, if you wanted to punch anyone in the face that was saying Happy New Year, I did too. So don't feel bad about it because screw you, it was not a Happy New Year or whatever was like your feeling.
Hmm.
But we've been talking, and I think like it's interesting because like I'm on the upswing, but there's still days. This is not like a linear thing, right?
Hmm.
Um, I talked a lot about I'm a person, not to, this is maybe I don't know. I'll just say it. I have a friend who has clinical depression and anxiety, and she said to me, like, I think my bummer or depression, if I could even call it that, was more like situational to what happened. It's not like a long-term thing. But she was like, you have the worst style of depression because I was like, you know what? I need something, a challenge. So I got a cold plunge and I was like, I'm gonna cold plunge every morning. I'm gonna go fix the fence. I'm gonna go take this class. Like I have to stay busy. I'm not a person that's like sit on the couch and be a bummer. And it's cool if that's your thing. Because I was saying this is what I told my stream community is like, I have no goal. I don't cold plunge with the expectation that that I'm going to get to a certain place. I just need to focus right now. So the analogy I use is like if I was lost, if I just woke up Like if I went to sleep tonight and I woke up tomorrow lost in the woods somewhere, you would have to start walking.
Yeah.
Like you have to find water, you'd have to find stuff to stay warm. You have to eventually take a step in no direction. You don't have a goal. There's no destination. But if you keep walking, you will find a stream perhaps. And then the stream will lead you to a road, and the road will lead you to a town. So I was like, for me, that process was I don't have a destination. I'm just walking. And eventually this will work and I will find the destination. So that's been like a pretty, I don't want to say a cool learning process because you know, I'm generally that's the first time I've really had like I guess like a darker time in my life.
Mm.
So it was interesting like finding a way to navigate that. Especially with me, I'm traveling, I have to be on the road, I have to people's safety is in my hands. I can't afford to be lax up here. So
Yeah.
it was it was really just like that was the message on my stream, and that's kind of one of the things I closed it out with is like just keep taking the steps even if you don't know why, because it'll work one of these times. And also like I'm a badass. I like to think I am. You see me on TV being a hard ass, and I could beat people up, and I'm cool. I'm into all this cool stuff, and I listen to heavy metal. But like, so that's another one that we say is like check on your badasses too,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes your badasses aren't gonna they're gonna act badass, right? So
Yeah.
it's cool that you asked that because like that's been a relevant discussion amongst my fans recently. So yeah, just keep walking.
I like that. I've not heard that approach of like framing it in that sense of waking up in a forest like that and trying to figure out where you're going next. It's such a good analogy because I'm sometimes
Yeah.
that's how it is. Like some days I'll wake up and everything's great, job's good, money's good, family's good, but for some reason I woke up lost in the forest, and I'm
Yeah.
just kind of like just trying to find a way out of it. My I have a similar thing where like I'll just start cleaning the house. I'm like, well, the
Yeah.
house is
Yeah. Yeah.
dirty. Let me take this time to try and clean it up, I guess. But that's such a great analogy. I appreciate you sharing that with me because that's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
There's
an
days
important
like
thing.
yeah, like I'm literally I'm working out because I'm supposed to. I don't feel like it, but I'm just walking. You don't need to know the destination yet. Just walk.
Yeah, yeah, and it's fun. It's funny that you say the whole check on your badasses too, because that's honestly for me the badasses are typically the ones that are going through it more. That's why they're so badass because they're feeling this
Yeah. Yeah.
need
Yeah.
to push through whatever is
To
holding them
fight.
down. Yeah, to fight
Yeah.
to get to the other side of it. So I and especially like in the world of metal and combat sports, like those are tough things that can be taxing on your mind. So I check on my badasses first, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. That could be
Yeah.
yours. Check on your
Yeah.
badasses first. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some merch for you.
There you go. There you go. Well, I want to let you go. I know you're busy. I know it's crazy time right now. So I want to thank you so much for your time. This is something I've been wanting for I've been hounding Josh for years to get you on the show. And then finally he was like, here, call these folks. I'm like, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
But please, everybody that's watching and listening, tune in tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
You ready?
That's crazy.
It's tomorrow. So I'm going to try and get this out tonight so that people can tune in and get it all ready. But tune in tomorrow to Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 10. Watch Shayna take on Masha Slamovich. Where is it? Triller? Or is it Fight?
Triller, Fight TV. If people have that app, and I mean the show's sold out, so I can't promote the tickets, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely order the pay-per-view. It helps Josh. It helps not me directly, but it helps with the mission of spreading the style of pro wrestling that I believe in and I love very much. So
awesome. Also, please tune in. You're on Raw, yes?
yes.
Yeah.
I'll be on Raw on
picked red
Monday.
for that.
Watch WrestleMania this week.
Watch
And,
WrestleMania.
It's a big weekend.
It's one of the it's the biggest WrestleMania of all time.
Yeah.
WrestleMania XL.
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm wearing my WrestleMania Comedy Store shirt from when we collaborated last year here in Hollywood, which was great.
Wow.
So please tune in to WrestleMania this weekend. Tune in to Bloodsport. Follow Shayna on all of the things. So what you have Instagram, what's the preferred for you?
Yeah, I'm QOS Baszler on Instagram and Twitter or X or whatever. QOS_Baszler on TikTok, and then you can watch me stream. I've been talking about it. Twitch.tv/QO Spades.
Go subscribe. I know all of you probably have Amazon Prime. You get one free subscription every month.
Yep.
Go give it to Shayna.
Yeah. Check on your badasses.
And check on your badasses. Thank you again. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to watching your match this weekend.
Thank you.
Actually tomorrow. My goodness.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Thank you.